Hunter Biden is officially being prosecuted in the eyes of the law, and he's going to be taken in under tax evasion. And what we see is he's going to basically be scrutinized under nothing more than not paying taxes, which I'd argue you shouldn't be getting taxed into poverty anyways. Conversation for a different day. But here's the deal. Why is it that the president's son can escape it freely and completely escape it no charge, but you can't? That's because there is no objective standard under the law. And this really comes with the myth of objective law because people believe, oh, well, we're all equal under the law. Truly, there's no worry about it. But realistically, that's an absolute farce because the thing is, if I have more money than you and you're trying to sue me, well, I can bleed you dry and I can have an army of lawyers completely deplete you of all your resources, and therefore I'll just outlast you in the long run. Much like how you can do to many people in war, this is done in the law. So, what we see is there truly is no objective standard under the law, which is why we see what's going on with the presidential family that we currently have residing under the stewardship of the Biden administration. So, much like most presidents, if not all of them in my entire lifetime, have been corrupt pieces of garbage, well, we now have another one. And this isn't over him selling out his family's name and influence for money and the idea of what it means to having payments go to the big guy. No. What this is the good old factor of tax evasion. But if he can get away with it, why can't you? So, and what's another major thing that's going on today? Well, today we have the UFO committee hearing from the House Oversight Committee. And what is that? Oh, that's a good old key jangle to get people to stop paying attention to the fact that Hunter Biden is going to be prosecuted for tax evasion. I will also make a video on the fact of the UFO committee. I just listened to it. I just watched it. They didn't really present any actual new information. They just got it all on record. And this is stuff that has already been stated many times. I've already made a video on UFO disclosure recently. You can go watch the interviews with the people that were in the actual disclosure itself. That is entertaining and interesting. But nonetheless, it's really not worth it because you don't find anything else. You're better off watching the interviews with people like Joe Rogan and Lex Friedman and then just going off and reading the actual documentation that's linked in the video that I made about UFO disclosure, and you'll get a better picture on everything on what's going on and the information present and what can actually be talked about, because so many of the questions asked they just said that they couldn't talk about because they were classified or they didn't have access to the information and they simply didn't know. So, realistically, you're better off listening to the interviews than you are watching the actual oversight committee. Let's go ahead and jump into Hunter Biden's tax evasion. Breaking from CNN, President Joe Biden's son Hunter Biden is set to plead guilty Wednesday to 2 federal misdemeanors for not paying taxes on time, a major step toward concluding the highly scrutinized Justice Department's investigation into his troubled finances. Does anyone really trust the DOJ to actually do a proper investigation and really persecute Hunter Biden to the same degree that any other civilian will be persecuted? No, of course not. Of course they don't. Because that's the nature of an oligarchical structure that you have in tyranny. And that's what you live under. Tyranny. Whether or not you want to admit it or not, it's what you were subjected to for 3 years under the COVID mandates. Alas, here we are. What we see is that people are making comments about this, and they're saying, oh, well, no one cares that he didn't pay taxes. We want to know about the authenticity of the miners on his laptop. And yeah, I agree. I want to know about the authenticity of the minors of the pictures that were seen with Hunter Biden as he was seen taking pictures with harems of children, just groups upon groups of young women. Why is it that this is not something that is being talked about more by the people in the Democratic Party? Why is it something that only the Republican establishment is talking about this? Why is it that something like children being preyed on is not a major topic of conversation? And this goes with what happened with that Sound of Freedom movie that just came out, which I still have not seen, which I will be watching soon. But they talk about the fact of how it's QAnon, it's right wing, it's just nothing but conspiracy theories. It's like, how is it that a movie talking about child sex trafficking, about actual events that happened, how is that QAnon or right wing? It's simply stating events that happened. Child trafficking isn't political. It's evil. And evil may be political because politics makes people evil, but nonetheless, that is not a political action. That is an action of evil, and you should stop ascribing a political notion to people who are committing acts of evil unless you yourself ascribe your own political side with the evil that is being committed that you feel yourself have to defend it. Let's go ahead and get into this article. Hunter Biden and the Justice Department revised a plea deal during the dramatic hearing. So, it says President Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, is poised to plead guilty to 2 federal taxes charged for failing to pay taxes on time after a dramatic delay in his court hearing Wednesday. And what else happened Wednesday, which is today? Well, you had the UFO hearing, which is just a key jangle to get people to look away from the fact that Hunter Biden is now having to pay up and he's being put into court, and he's the first son of any president to ever be prosecuted and then thrown into a court and pay for a federal felony. What we see is Hunter Biden failed to pay between 1.1 million and 1.5 million in federal taxes. Before the legal deadlines, prosecutors said in court that they agreed this will recommend a sentence of probation. Does anyone believe Hunter Biden, crack smoking, hooker slanging, 140 mile an hour driving through a suburb, is going to stop doing what he's doing for probation? No. Do you think the court system has the power to stop someone with the power of the Biden family, to stop them from doing what they're doing? No, of course not. Probation's not going to do anything. He went and did some rails after he got out of court. I guarantee it. What we see is the district judge, Noriega, said she has concerns about the parties seemingly linking to the tax plea agreement to resolve the felony gun charge. During the proceedings, prosecutors confirmed that the investigation into Biden was ongoing. So, if you yourself had a felony gun charge for an unregistered firearm, which there should be no such thing as an unregistered firearm, all guns should simply just be legal, and you should be able to carry. Constitutional carry exists for a reason and is now becoming the law of the land for a reason, because it is the mandate that is ascribed to us via the Second Amendment. You have the right to bear arms, and simply put, that shall not be infringed. I don't know why this has to be explained like it needs to be told to a 5-year-old for people to truly understand it, but no, you do not have the right to regulate someone's capacity to have firearms, even though it says a well-regulated militia. Because much like language has changed drastically over the past 3 years during the COVID epidemic, how people want to use the goalpost to shift and use language to change the narratives to their own ends, well, much like the word regulated has changed in a long time. Because regulated used to mean you had a regulated populace that understood the capacity of how to use these things so that they could be a well-regulated militia. Okay, so nonetheless, you can't escape a gun charge by paying off your tax evasion, and you nonetheless aren't evading taxes and don't have an illegal gun charge, so you wouldn't be able to do this in the first place. But nonetheless, if you were, you wouldn't be able to, because what point would you not be held to every standard of the law and thrown in jail and have every single book thrown at you at every single corner? After negotiations, the president's son has agreed to plead guilty to 2 tax charges in a deal that only includes conduct related to tax offenses, drug use, and gun possession. So all things that Hunter Biden can skate on, but you simply can't. The two sides have agreed that the deal does not shield him from potential charges. This is an unprecedented moment in American history. Never before has the son of a sitting U.S. president walked into a federal courthouse and pleaded guilty to a crime. And that's just a son of a president that we simply don't know has committed any crimes. I'm sure there were many, but nonetheless, this is the first one that's actually documented and put into court. A Donald Trump appointee who was confirmed unanimously by the Senate presided over Wednesday's hearing and has sole authority to decide Hunter Biden's ultimate punishment. Well, that's going to be fascinating. While the investigation was ongoing, Hunter Biden fully paid his federal tax bill, and along with the interest and penalties, his lawyers have previously said. Again, I don't care about the taxes. Doesn't matter to me. The questions about the probe we see. Hanging over the probe, the plea hearing, are recent claims that the 2 IRS whistleblowers who helped the lead investigation of the Justice Department gave preferential treatment to Hunter Biden beginning when Trump was president in 2020, which, who knows if that's actually the case. These are literally just questions. Their claims dovetail with the GOP fuel that the narratives Hunter Biden got a sweet deal, even though it's fairly common for the first-time offenders to avoid incarceration in misdemeanor-only cases. It's $1.5 million, a felony gun charge, and a felony drug charge. No other citizen's escaping this, but he can. No problem, to a T, every single time, because his last name is Biden. I hope your last name carries as much weight as that. The Trump-era Justice Department started investigating Hunter Biden in 2018, and the probe steadily expanded to examine whether he violated money laundering and foreign lobbying laws with his multi-million-dollar overseas business dealings. Federal investigators also looked into Hunter Biden's unpaid taxes and lavish spending, which came amid the struggle with addiction. Do you think that any other person would have been greeted with something so kind to finish off a sentence with such a devastating blow? Well, yes, he may have been steadily stealing money and selling out his family's name for value for multi-million-dollar contracts with overseas business dealings, but he was an addict, you see. Imagine if that was Don Jr. I'm no fan of Donald Trump or the Trump family. I think Trump's a good comedian and he's a solid entertainer, but And nonetheless, it's one reason I kind of like him as president, solely because it kind of makes everything like Arkham Asylum. And the closer we are to that, I think the funnier and more entertaining it's going to be, so I'm almost an advocate for it. Here we see U.S. Attorney David Weiss has led the investigation. He was appointed by Trump, and Joe Biden kept him on at his post so he could continue handling the probe. Which, I'll give Biden that. He didn't go off and get someone new to handle the probe, but I wonder if the reason of why he didn't go to get someone new to handle the probe is simply because that would have been such a blow to his credibility, because he would have been completely upending the investigation, and people would have looked at that with an extreme eye. So, let's go ahead and see what this says. It says, there's no publication or indication that Joe Biden or the White House ever tried to intervene in the probe, which, again, that we simply know of. Nonetheless, there are a lot of insiders in Washington that could have and maybe would have talked about this, so very possible. Let's go ahead and jump into the Gateway Pundit. It says, Hunter Biden's legal team responds to allegations of impersonating a Republican attorney to the court clerk, claims it was a misunderstanding, there was no misrepresentation. Imagine you interpret and you try to be someone else in a federal courtroom and you get caught and you're like, nah, bro, sorry, I was just kidding. In what world would this work for anyone but the actually connected political class? My goodness. Attorneys for Hunter Biden have responded to allegations of deceiving court clerks to remove certain documents from a court docket, claiming it was simply a misunderstanding. Really? The Gateway Pundit previously reported that Hunter Biden's legal team is facing possible sanctions after they lied about their identity to have the testimony of IRS whistleblowers removed from the docket in Hunter Biden's tax fraud case, which there are whistleblowers talking about the fact of the Biden family that have come out saying that they want to actually come out and talk about this stuff, but they're afraid to do so and disclose who they are because they fear for their life. Do we have a new Clinton family on our hands? Do we have a new Biden body count list? Hunter's lawyers called the courthouse clerk pretending to work for the GOP lawyer Ted Kidda and told the clerk that they didn't really mean to file all the whistleblower stuff. Hunter Biden's plea deal is now in jeopardy after his attorneys tried to pull a fast one on the judge today. On the eve of his court date, Hunter Biden's lawyers called the courthouse clerk pretending to be a Republican attorney and told the clerk, "Our bad, we didn't really mean to proceed and deliver this information." That's huge. I wonder if this will actually make this get extended, if this will actually make his charges become more exacerbated because this is a Trump-appointed judge, so who knows in what direction this goes. My goodness. Here it says, Judge Noriega has demanded an explanation from the Biden lawyers by 9 p.m. Tuesday night, so last night. This controversy arises at the eve of Hunter Biden's plea guilty of the misdemeanor tax charges on Wednesday, which is today, being 7/26/2023, while he is expected to avoid jail time on a separate gun charge. Members of the Biden legal team misrepresented herself when asking for amicius material to be removed. According to reports, she called the clerk and requested that the information be sealed due to its sensitive nature, including grand jury, taxpayer, and Social Security details. Oh my God. The order continued to express concern that the caller might have misrepresented her identity and who she worked for in an attempt to improperly convince the clerk's office to remove the amicus material from the docket. Just quite literally playing a facade. You're playing a character. It's basically just going through the role of Mission Impossible, just basically wearing the skin suit mask to go ahead and get your own ends by manipulating people to try and structure the court system to get your own outcomes. My word. So, right here from the New York Post says, Hunter Biden set to plead guilty to tax charges as lawyer tries to pull a dirty trick at the head of the court appearance, which we know, but I just want to pull up the fact that there's another article talking about this, which is very important. And then I want to cap this off with just a story that I thought was funny. Hunter Biden's sugar brother lawyer, Kevin Morris, rips bong as his first son visits home in L.A. I don't care about this. Like, it's realistically not a thing that bugs me at all. I just find it hilarious that the fact that Hunter Biden goes to go see his brother and someone who is also a lawyer to possibly console him, and then he steps out on the balcony to just go torch a bong, which, if Hunter Biden is actually on probation, this may be his brother actually stepping out and saying, fine, I won't smoke weed in front of you because you're on probation. And Hunter's like, no, I can't do drugs. I need you to do that away from me. So, if that's the case, you know what? I'll give him on that. That's not beyond the pale. I don't want to act like it's not possible that he's actually going through the motions. I just don't believe it because the political class are so connected that they don't operate under the same rules and laws that me and you do. So, I'm going to go ahead and show this picture. It shows that he's just on the balcony, just torching the bong up. Just go ahead and hitting a solid rip out of it. Looks like probably like a 14-inch beaker. Anyways, completely irrelevant. I wanted to cap off on this. I'm going to go ahead and jump in and make segment covering the UAP disclosure. That's quite interesting. It was really fascinating, but nonetheless, it didn't drop enough information that hadn't already been put out there for me to find it to be something that was absolutely groundbreaking and breathtaking, except for the fact that it's groundbreaking solely for one reason: that we actually have this on record in front of the Congress for once, and it's in front of the Oversight Committee. That's it. Facts that have already been put out into the wind that people may not know, that many people who may not have actually even had any understanding that any of this was a thing, because they're not people who are active on the internet and they don't pay attention to interviews and podcasts and such, so they're not aware of these actual things because they've never investigated UFOs, and they see the government talking about its legitimacy, so they're like, oh, certainly it must be legit, it must be real, it must be incredibly important. Well, nonetheless, it's grabbed a lot of people's eyes because I've never seen so many people sitting in the courtroom or people standing outside waiting to get inside of a federal court hearing. They were wrapped all the way throughout the entire innards of the building. I was looking at videos and pictures of it. It was truly impressive how many people wanted to know about this. But then again, UFOs and aliens is something that interests so many people because the question that really many people ask is, are we alone? And nonetheless, maybe we'll find out when it comes to the ending of this reveal. That's all I have for this one. Give this a thumbs up if you liked it, a thumbs down if you didn't. Share this with someone if you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching this video. Stay lovely, stay great. Peace out.